Aye, that's fine.
Don't mess with me. Oh.
Okay, I call to order this regular meeting of the Commission on Aging on January 9th, 2025. May we have the roll call, Anita?
Yes, Carol,
Here.
Linda,
Here.
Marion,
Here.
Tammy is absent, excused, Vicky,
Here.
Dana is absent, excused, Quee,
Here.
Laura.
Here.
Okay, and at this time, the public is welcome to provide comments to the commission. Will we have the public here? Nothing to say? Okay. Comments may be made to the commission on items not listed on the agenda, but within the commission's purview, sorry. There will be an opportunity to comment on agenda action items at the time they are discussed. But we request that comment be kept to 3 minutes. So you'll still have it. Does anyone, apparently nobody, because I'm sure, I was gonna say, is anyone present that would like to provide comment? Was any written correspondence received? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to, this is the place at which we would approve the regular meeting minutes from December 12th. I'm going to table that item for later in the meeting. So we are going straight to the presentation on the village program concept from Eric Larson. Thank you for coming, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting actually to be here, and I appreciate your interest in the village and having me here. We're up and running. There we go. Great. So my role at the Village Movement California is I'm the co-executive director of the Village Movement California, which is the statewide village administrative organization. We are part of the National Village to Village network. There are some 300 villages throughout the United States, and nearly 50 of them, almost 50 of them, are here in California. We currently have about 10,000 members and volunteers throughout the state. So it's a joy to be here and to share what we're doing in the villages. A little about me, I started working in with older adults in the senior care industry about 2009. And I was the executive director of the Bay Park community in Knoll for about a year, I think, and then was transferred over to Santa Rosa to Vineyard Commons. And I was there for about 3 years, and then left that and moved into home care, private home care, and worked with an organization as their CEO that was Hired Hands Home Care. You may not know, but here there was an office in Pleasanton, but I was mostly in charge of Sonoma, Napa, and Marin counties, and about 350 caregivers. And I did that for 7 years, made it through 2 fires and a year and a half of COVID, and decided, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to retire. And right after that, heard about the Governor's Master Plan for Aging, which I'll talk a little bit about today. And the fact that there was something called villages and the village movement identified in the Governor's Master Plan for Aging as a strategy for reinforcing community development and volunteerism. So I started investigating, and one thing led to another, and I started a village in Sonoma Valley called the Village of Sonoma Valley. And as of November, became the executive director of the Village of California, co-director. So it's been a fast and wild ride. I'm very excited. So at any time during today, if you have questions, please, let's be informal about it and ask and I'll do my best to answer, everything that I can. My goal today is to give you an overview of what a village is and how it works. And so, please interject any questions so that you have a complete or as complete, information as you feel you need, from this brief introduction over there. Okay. The Village Moon, California envisions a society where all stages of life offer meaningful opportunities for growth, connection, and joy, where people of all backgrounds and economic means can age with dignity, purpose, and self-determination. It's our mission. Take a minute to think about that.
Yeah,
It's a huge mission.
yeah,
And partly because it's a statewide organization and we're trying to embrace a lot of different people with a lot of different needs and a lot of different agendas and bring it together. As I said, there are some 50 village movement members. These are organizations, these are villages throughout the state. At the moment, we will all send our blessings to Pasadena Village, and which is right on the border between Pasadena and Altamira. So they're having some hard times, but there are here in the area. There's the Ashby Village, which is close by the Clayton Village and La Miranda Village. I think those are the closest ones to you in this particular area. Why would you have a village? And so the statistics, and this is important because I'm really identifying what the needs are, what's going on in our society. And you'll see over on the left-hand side, the graphics that as a society, as a culture, we are getting older, demographically. And so from, by 2034, you'll see that the number of people over 65 will supersede those who are under 18. And this is the first time that that's happened and I can send you this.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And that's the first time that it's happened in US history and possibly the history of the world that we've been able to identify. Similar trends are occurring not only in the United States, but also in Japan and in Europe.
mhm,
And so science is supporting us and we're living longer. At the same time, the graph on the right shows us the differences between the way that the numbers have changed. On the left-hand side, we see that in 1960, those who were over, these are in millions of people, that there were very few people over 85. The life expectancy was much lower. Today, it's much higher, and when you get to 2060, we're expected to have that same, almost a straight column up. So we have some work to do here. And I'm going to continue on here to the next slide. Does that, any questions for any on that one? This is,
no, but the
Yeah,
implications
we're
are
kind of-
huge.
Yeah, Commission on Aging, so we kind of know.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
somewhat aware, yeah.
Yes,
Over
but
here.
it's the ramifications of that are not just for the aging population, but for the working population, because
Absolutely.
there are actually fewer and fewer young workers
To
available.
support us.
Support.
Yeah,
And the caregiver situation's out of control.
that too, yeah.
Okay. So, you can see then how this model could overwhelm the system very easily.
Yeah.
Unless we plan very carefully. Amazing. By 2030, Californians 60 and over will comprise 1/4 of the population of California. So 1/5 of the population is the population of Los Angeles County. This will be bigger than all of Los Angeles throughout California. That's a significant number. And you can see then that here, that represents in 2030, almost 11 million people in California. When we unpack that and we look at, who are these people? And the Village Movement of California was part of a collaboration of organizations that worked with the NORC Institute. This particular article came out, and I think they were the first to coin the phrase the forgotten middle or the missing middle. And maybe you've heard of this. The missing middle or this forgotten middle refers to the segment of the population that do not qualify for public assistance, don't qualify for Medi-Cal, and some of the other public programs, but also do not have the income to afford private pay home care, in-home services and home care. Those numbers actually, when you put them to real numbers, the estimates are from $27,000 a year to $110,000 a year in retirement income. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
So what that means for the forgotten middle, I know it's sobering, that California's estimated 1.6 million middle-income older adults age 75 and above in 2033. Between 2018 and 2013, the number of middle-income older adults is expected to double. So these next 5 years to 5 to 8 years, the statistics we're going to see explode. California will be more diverse in 2033, meaning that with nearly half the middle-income seniors will be people of color or from the BIPOC. Are you familiar with BIPOC, everybody? Black, Indigenous people of color, BIPOC population. And the majority of Californians living middle-income adults will have mobility limitations and 3 or more chronic conditions once they get to 85. Okay. And without selling their homes, this is the sobering one, 89% of California's middle-income older adults will not be able to afford assisted living. That's 9 out of 10 people who are 85 plus. And so these are sobering, and we don't sugarcoat them at all, because we all need to be looking at this and looking at what can we do to help remedy the situation or address the needs. I got ahead of myself. One of the main things that happens for people in this missing middle is that they are forced to remain in their homes. They can't afford assisted living, they can't afford even independent living, and so they stay in their homes. And if you're living Social Security check to Social Security check, you're not doing much, you're not getting out, and you then fall into this isolation. And you may have heard the Surgeon General, his announcement about the impact of isolation and what we're finding is, they're saying now that it's on par with smoking about 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
The impact physiologically on your body.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we're just beginning to identify all of those, the risk of heart disease, diabetes, et cetera. In addition to that, this scenario of isolation is fodder for the abuse, fraud abuse and elder abuse, which is running rampant. As soon as we figure out one method of use, there's another one that's coming through either by phone or by this gizmo here in front of me. So that isolation means that you are really vulnerable and susceptible. At the same time, and I can attest to this, personal experience in working with people, that the more isolated you are, the more likely it is you will fall into cognitive decline and begin to lose your sense of what's going on in the rest of the world.
That's right.
And maybe you all have experienced that or witnessed it in those folks. We didn't test this, but I'm going to try and see if we can do this. Let's see if it'll work. Here we go. This is a little video that we have.
We're aging.
Oh, I don't
To
know.
age is to live.
Maybe you can just turn your computer.
Embrace change.
Yeah.
Adapt to circumstances,
See if I
discover
can-
new resources, continue to act in ways that result in a satisfying life. Staying in touch
I'm going to see if I can make this bigger.
with our lives.
We had just allotted 20 minutes for the presentation.
I'm just, yeah, I'm
Okay.
over halfway.
Yeah, it's not showing. here.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
also
we're gonna
can't
move
show
on.
it to the public.
Oh, that's true, huh? Okay.
So let's see if I can move on to
Sorry
it.
about that.
That's okay.
From the day we're born,
Look
we're
at that.
aging.
I don't know what you did, but it worked.
Age is to live. Aging well means learning to embrace change,
Higher volume.
to adapt to new circumstances, discover new resources, and continue to act in ways that result in a satisfying life. Staying in charge of our lives as we age is at the heart of Village Movement California, a growing network of over 40 membership organizations called Villages. Created by and for Californians, a village connects people over the age of 50 to the community, programs, support, and expertise they need to continue living lives of purpose and promise in the places they call home. We need each other at every stage of life. But as we get older, our need for social connection and community becomes even more important. Villages are intentional communities that offer their members unlimited opportunities to connect, contribute, continue to learn, and ask for help when needed. As a member, you can stay connected through that educate, stimulate, and prepare you for what's next in your life. Expressive arts, civic engagement, health and wellness, and life planning are just some of the pursuits we enjoy. In addition to members, volunteers of all ages connect compassionate neighbors of all generations to support each other with friendly visits, technology support, help around the house, and trips to the grocery store. If the pandemic and annual California fires have taught us anything, it's that we are living in a time of uncommon social change. Villages help us navigate this change. Knowing that we belong to a community of people who care for us, making new friends, and having the space to redefine our purpose and our own experience of aging. At Village Movement California, we invite you to join us as we continue to learn, explore, and help each other reinvent aging and reimagine what's next. Join the nearly 10,000 Californians already participating in their local village. Visit us at villagemovementcalifornia.org and click on Find Your Local Village or contact us.
So why do we need a village? I'm sorry that wasn't a little louder. I hope that you could sort of
You
get the
sound
gist of it. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Why do we need a village? And so the village model was designed in Boston in the early 90s, where the first one was Beacon Hill Village was founded then. And what the village provides, the village model provides, is a set of supports and services to help older adults remain independent in their homes. By using, tapping the skills and the abilities of and the support of other older adults and even multi-generational younger folks to provide the support that they need. And so what's happening right now is it's becoming more critical in response to the economic reality of aging in place and what we've just been talking about. Providing social connection. And then my personal favorite of this is really working with helping people to experience meaningful contribution and remaining relevant in the community. And I think we all know people who, for whatever reason, they really haven't been joiners. They don't really participate, and they kind of sit at home, and pretty soon they vegetate. I mean, they're couch potatoes, and the ramifications of that are really significant. And when we talked about re-envisioning our future, it's a future, an opportunity for all of us to remain relevant and remain contributors to society all through our aging process. There's no reason why we have to stop, unless, you know, we can form it however we want to.
Okay.
The intent, so villages are intentional communities that center around caring that are led by older adults for older adults. And this is what was so critical. I think that if you've ever been to, well, many of us have experienced the ageism in our society, and it's even prevalent in our healthcare system. And I was recently told by my doctor, well, you know, I don't think we should do those tests, because if we do those tests at your age, we're just going to find something and then we'll have to do something.
What?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that
That
picture?
sounds like
Sounds
What
like
do
he
you
didn't want
mean?
to do his job.
Look, what are you talking
How
about?
old is your dog?
Probably 35.
22. He was Doogie Howser. And, you know, I'm 67. It's not like I'm that old, for Pete's sake. And wow, okay. And I called him on it. I said, you know, I think that's ageism.
Good.
Absolutely.
And
No
Good for
kidding.
you.
you know, and then he got defensive, and I probably won't go back. But it was like, wow, and really, come on. So I think that we really, by banding together, we can talk about those things. And if I weren't as skilled and knowledgeable in the area, I probably wouldn't have said anything to him. But if I were in a group of people where we could talk about it, I might go back to my doctor and say something and get the language and the support that I need to say something, so that I get the care that I need and the treatment that I need. And this is something that a village can do. And it can be
Buddy system.
Yeah, buddy system is exactly right. And that network of neighbors helping neighbors. The opportunities are numerous and exciting. The model works well in conjunction with other community-based organizations. And I'm aware that in Pleasant Hill, you have a very vital and thriving, a robust community senior center, excuse me. And there are many programs that are working very well through that. That is not the case in across the board. Many communities don't have it together to the extent that you all do. That said, for example, I'll say that in Sonoma, we have a very similar structure. It's set up differently, but the impact is the same. We have an extremely vital senior center and a ride program, food program, and on and on and on. So what's the need for a village? And the village model is it's very flexible, so that any community can arrange it or design it based on the gaps that exist in that community. And so that may look different than another village down the road or another part of the state, or in Kern Valley, for example, if you're familiar with that county, Kern River Valley, in Kern, they have no services. I mean, there is nothing there. So they have to provide every ride, they have to provide food, but they do all of that work. And other villages don't necessarily have to do that. Actually, even in Berkeley, there's not as many services as you might think there would be. So the village model is flexible enough that it can fill in the gaps around those services that are siloed off and run in different ways. The structure is also provided, in place that it can be short term. So, for example, if someone goes into the hospital for a planned event, a knee replacement, shoulder replacement, they go home. Well, good luck trying to get Meals on Wheels to give you meals for 3 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever your recovery period is, and to get it set up fast enough. Usually it takes 6 or 8 weeks for that to kick in, but then you're back on your feet and you're already cooking again. And so something like a village we can get a group together and say, okay, we're going to help you cook because you can't stand at the stove. That's going to take you 6 weeks to get back on your feet. So let's get together as a group and make sure that you're eating and you've got everything in place. So these short-term, they can be very pliable in the way that it's set up. Could also be long-term. The other thing about Meals on Wheels, depending upon how they receive their funding, if they have older American dollars, then they can only serve people who qualify for Medi-Cal. And so here again,
No, that's not good, not Medi-Cal. Meals
Meals on
on
Wheels
Wheels,
here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. So you aren't. They don't
yeah.
get money then from the Old Americans Act.
Yeah, they do.
Really?
But go ahead to continue. I'm on Meals on Wheels board director, so
Oh, that's good.
we could talk, but continue your presentation, please. It's
Ah,
not just Medi-Cal, it's all the plan.
but there are economic restrictions to who qualifies. Oh, there are in Sonoma.
It's homebound.
Oh, okay, so this is great. So we work hand in hand with these organizations to do handoffs and if there's waiting lists and things like that, we can support them, which is what we do. I'm not meaning to say anything disparaging about any organization.
Marion, did you have a question?
I did.
Yeah.
If you don't have a village in your city or in your area, can you go to one of the ones that are close by?
Depending upon what your needs are. So, for example, most of the villages have a designated geographic area that they will provide services and work with. So if you live outside of that geographic area, there may not be someone who could come from Berkeley to give you a ride here.
We're fairly close to Clayton and Lamorinda, places like that.
So,
I'm thinking more in terms of the socialization and the buddy system kind of thing.
Yeah.
More than the needs of food and that sort of thing.
Right, and so it would depend on what your needs are and the individual situation, but there aren't restrictions in that way. You could become a member and you could join and you could participate. Depending on but for the socialization part.
Right.
The village also is a flexible model for responding to the changes in demographics. People who want to remain in their homes, who have needs that they can't find services for in another place. We can try to get them together for them. Then it expands the community outreach. So for example, in Sonoma, we have as I said, a very active senior center, but even then, they don't have programs that cover things like taking garbage cans out. That's a big deal if you have mobility issues, and any number of other things. We also recommend through our services a door-through-door for our transportation, not door-to-door, and that means that's very, very impactful for someone who has mobility issues, has difficulty getting to a car. And so we have limitations on that as well, but there are medical transports for people that are really have really severe needs for transportation. But we do get them through the door, and we can actually do where someone can go in and advocate and take notes, and then send the notes to a relative who lives on the East Bay or the East Coast or whatever, some things like that. And through this, there are villages and organizations that experience increased funding opportunities for even the other existing, for like the senior centers. On the peninsula down in Palo Alto, the Avenidas, their structure is that it's very similar to, I think, what you have here. They have the Parks and Recs department has an umbrella organization that runs the senior center, the village, the Meals on Wheels, and a couple of others under one big umbrella. They have one CEO and then program directors under that CEO, and their budget from the Parks and Recs department then is divided among all those programs, and the village program or component actually brings in more money and funds some of the other programs that aren't as fluid. So what this means then, as the village model extends these programs into homes, the social programming, the educational opportunities, volunteerism, and the resources and references result in an intentional community, building that community even when people are in their own homes, so that we're bringing these resources into their homes to support them in remaining a vital part of community, even if they can't physically be there and interact physically. So we create different ways to engage people and keep them engaged. I mentioned the Governor's Master Plan for Aging, and there are 5 goals in the Master Plan for Aging, and you can find this online. It's if you just Google California Master Plan for Aging, you will find this, and you'll be able to get this very set of things, set of goals. The village model addresses all 5 of these major goals. Directly, some more directly than others, but in essence, by addressing one of them, it flows into the other. It's not a linear process. But as you can see here, housing, health care, inclusion and equity, caregiving, and affordability of aging. These are all components of the aging process that we address and we work with our members. The village, and then so moving into what we've identified is that it can be very helpful for a community who is thinking about starting a village to learn about it and to gain information and education from other folks who have already done it. And so we've created an incubator program, and And we have 6 different phases or components to this incubator. They meet once a month. There are cohort meetings that share best practices and support each other. We also, every other month is that kind of a sharing and support meeting. The other alternate months are workshops on a particular topic. And then there's coaching as well for individual to help the organization get started and figure out what's first and what's next and how do we move this thing forward. Right now we have 7 villages in the incubator program, and so there are 7 new ones up and coming. And so
Is Walnut Creek one of them?
not yet, but it's going to be. I mean, it's starting, but it's not in the incubator yet. But I think it's going to be this month, starting this month. So the 3 villages that actually launched in 2024, the Encinitas, Sebastopol, and Sonoma. More currently, you'll see there, Concord, Irvine, Kern Valley, River Valley, Lake Forest, Monterey, Palm Springs, South Bend, Pasadena, and Walnut Creek. And then anticipated soon, we have one in Sacramento and another in Santa Barbara. The need is there, people are recognizing it, and it's happening. The way to get started is to identify 3 to 5 people who are interested and passionate about their own aging process or aging in their own community, and people who can work together and navigate through differences of opinions, because they're going to come up, and follow through on their commitments and have a varied set of skills. And that eventually then will grow through their networks and continue to expand. And it starts by joining the incubator program and learning how to do that. If you have more questions, please feel free to contact me and to reach out to Village Movement California. We're here to help anyone start. It sounds to me like Pleasant Hill, the structure for the senior, you have a Parks and Recs that oversees, and a lot of the organizations that are here in the community, or oversees maybe the wrong term for that, but collaborates with maybe, and that organizations here in your community receive some of their funding through the Parks and Recs and from the city. That's not, I don't know if that's the case, but it looked like that online. And for example, Healdsburg is that kind of a situation. And the transient occupancy tax is what pays for all of that in Healdsburg. So the hotel tax is pays for their senior center, as an example, yeah.
Wouldn't it seem more economical to merge some of these villages instead of having each individual little location? Like Clayton Valley, is that our Clayton? Well, why wouldn't that include Pleasant Hill and Martinez, for instance? Or Concord? I mean, it's right. If you're gonna have an individual one, then you have to have a separate budget for everyone and a separate funding for everyone. Wouldn't it make more sense to combine them?
So we have we work with a model that's called a hub and spoke model, where there's one central village that handles all the administrative aspects of it, and then I will lump it into that terminology or that language. And then the spokes operate, are given the opportunity to operate based on the community needs that spoke exists in. So that's a way of consolidating. The Village Movement California does some of that as well, but not to the extent that you're talking about. But we are trying to develop and encourage that hub and spoke model because of what you're describing and the duplication of resource spending and needing to develop all these things and competition even potentially. And so the hub and spokes model works really well unless the communities are so different or they can't get together, you know, for whatever reason. And we certainly have that. So there's a hub and spoke model in loosely in Marin County. They have six villages that are involved in that hub and spoke, and the Sausalito village is not a part of that. And then in San Mateo County, there are 3 spokes to that, and then there's 1 hub. So that's a model that is being explored and worked with, and it has been in place, some of them for now 10 years. I still say they're exploring because I think it's evolving. But that's to your point. There are ways to work that way. So some of the reasons, or one of the reasons why that might not work is if your village is being funded through the city, your particular city, then it may be easier to keep it unique and separate, and so that the city has complete control over the village here. And if you're raising funds, then it knows where those funds are going and where they came from and all those things. So sometimes it doesn't always mix depending upon how it's set up within the city.
What is a guesstimate of funding? Like, what would a dollar amount be to go for starting the village?
So it depends on how you decide to structure it. So there are villages that are 100% volunteers, and so they function on a shoestring, and I don't recommend that. And so, but without exception, the primary expense of the village is paying for staff. And so most villages have 1 to 2 staff members. And it doesn't take a lot. San Francisco Village has some 900 members. They have 5 staff members. And most of the work, we encourage volunteers. This is about saving our own lives and doing it together and creating a community. There's, I don't know I grew up, all of my uncles were in World War II, and for their entire lives, the friends that they made when they were in the service and they were fighting were their best friends. I mean, because, and the statistics have shown that the type of friendship that you develop towards a worthy goal, those are the meaningful relationships. It's more than just having coffee. There's a real connection. There's something heartfelt, and we did something that was better than either of us could have done alone.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of relationships that we're developing in villages.
Another question, I don't need to dominate, but I know you weren't around, but you must know or have an opinion why this village failed.
So I anticipated that question. And so I actually did a little research on that. And so there were a couple of reasons, and it's not, they were never successful at let me put it to, they started at a time when the village movement was just beginning 6 years ago. And so Village Movement California didn't have an incubator program. And so they were on their own.
But they had Ashley as a plan.
Role model,
Role
yeah.
model,
Yeah,
and Ashley was quiet.
yeah, absolutely. They were never successful at raising money. There wasn't anyone who had that skill set to do that. They were really, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but they had a particular strong, charismatic, dynamic leader, and no one else who could step in. And so when that person couldn't continue, no one else wanted to take on that whole thing.
So this is sort of answering my question, which is how is this funded? So it sounds like you need someone, if you're gonna start a village, you need someone with nonprofit development experience. Fundraising,
It's helpful.
events, whatever you can.
So we have training for that, and we have a lot of successful villages that started with people who didn't have any idea about any of that. But
But they have that passion.
yeah, and people that are well connected in their communities.
Yeah,
And we weren't in place to really help the Walnut Creek Village at that point. We didn't have the infrastructure, the incubator and the accelerator. We have an accelerator too now, we're launching this year. So we weren't there to help them and to give them the training and to hold their hand and in the way that we are now.
Was this a Walnut Creek?
Mhm.
Well, they're starting a new one now.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question, and a lot of this sounds like social work to me.
Mhm.
Do you have any connection with social workers or have any volunteers or social workers? Because they have that mindset of finding resources for each. Okay.
A lot of our volunteers and a lot of our staff are social workers. My co-executive director is a social worker.
I can see that'd be a big benefit.
And can be, absolutely. What we're finding, the trends in society is that villages operate at what we call the intersection of social care and healthcare.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And healthcare has been a silo, and it only went as deep as the Medicare, Medi-Cal funding went, and anything that existed outside of that silo was good luck.
Yeah.
And so this is what I was referring to, that the village is flexible enough to respond to the needs of the community. And so, for example, in Sonoma, we've just signed a memorandum of understanding with the hospital. And when people are being discharged from the hospital, then they notify the village, and we can make sure that they have a prescription when they get home. They don't have to go, before on their way home, stop off at the pharmacy, right?
Yeah.
And if they need a ride, we can give them a ride.
But then that person being discharged needs to be a member of the village.
Not necessarily, depends on how it's set up.
Caregiver.
And-
Perhaps a caregiver.
And so, and also if the funding is coming through the hospital.
Okay.
Oh,
Got it.
oh,
So the hospital's actually financially
Finance,
participating.
So when you start to work in this intersection, if we will, and by bridging and creeping into the healthcare, we now have an opportunity to begin to lobby for more financial support.
Yeah.
So part of what I'm working on at my level and on the state level is to, convince insurance companies that it's in their best interest to support us.
Yeah.
So that we actually save them money. And we improve the quality of life for their clients and for our community members. Make sense? Yeah, it's, in this situation, it's kind of a hard and fast. The stories that come from people are just so heartfelt and so remarkable. We had my very first client that I worked with in Sonoma, an older man and his wife moved from the Midwest to be with their daughter. And so they were living in the cottage on the family property. And a month after they got here, we went into COVID shutdown. And then some weeks after that, a few weeks after that, their son-in-law died unexpectedly, leaving the daughter with 3 preschool children. And so this gentleman calls me and says, "What can you do for me?" And I said, "Well, why don't I go over and meet you?" And so we met outside, and because it was in COVID, and his wife had 4th-stage Alzheimer's. And he was caring for her, had been for 18 months,
Oh, boy.
caring for her 24/7. She had never seen a doctor. They had not engaged with anybody. And so, I got them in palliative care, I got them at the home care agency, got someone from the Congregational Church to start calling them and working with them, et cetera, changed their lives completely. And 8 months later, after all that, he calls and says, "Well, she's really progressed. Can you help me find a place? I think I need to place her in a home or in for more care." And then so I helped him do that. And so he had no way of knowing that. He had been here for, a year and a half, but had never gotten out of the house. So that's the kind of things that we do. Changed his life, and now his wife has now since passed, and he's an active member in the community and in the church, and he's a retired school teacher, and he's just bright and lovely human beings. Both of them were. And I sat there in their living room, and she was completely deadpan and he goes, "I love you," and she goes, "And I love you," and then they sang together, and I made me cry. That was the only way he could interact with her, was through singing. And that's the kind of things that a village can do. It's really remarkable. So I'm hoping that in Pleasant Hill, that there's an opportunity to look at what are all the assets, and then where are the needs, where are the gaps, and then how can we create an organization here that helps to fill those gaps so that people don't fall through them, and we edify, and really support all of the organizations that work in the communities where we are. We don't compete. There's way too many. The need is way too big for us to compete and to protect our turf. We all need to lock arms and make it happen together, so that we catch people before they hit bottom. So that's what we're about. I think I've gone over my time. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very good.
Very
Bringing
interesting.
it up. Setting it up.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll just sit back and I'll let you finish your meeting, and if there's questions afterwards, then I'm happy to answer.
Okay. So,
Good after you.
how much room we have for me? Whatever, it's on the agenda, right? Okay,
You know what about. Unfortunately,
so,
resources.
We needed 3 minutes, is that what we're gonna try?
well, yeah, there was a reason why we postpone that.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
And I hate.
Planning for participation in Tinkers and Thinkers. You needed to clarify the appointments to the subcommittee. Where did you leave off with that?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, it seemed like it wasn't quite clear on who would be appointed to it, but at the last meeting, it sounded like Vicky, Carol, and Lorna had volunteered, but there was also a mention of having Queen as the consultant, so to speak, and there was also some talk about including Cammy, and so I just wanted to get a final number. We can't have more than 4,
So we can have 3 with a consultant?
No.
Well, the consultant isn't an official
He
thing,
would have to
right?
be an official.
We would have to be one of the
Yeah, if you
4.
wanted to be able to talk with him outside.
And Qui has done this so many times. If he wants to be a part of this, fine, but nobody is gonna drag him.
Yeah, no, I'm
And-
I'm perfectly fine doing that. I don't want to take any spots that anybody else, Cameron's not here to say, but, I would sort of just suggest would just form the subcommittee with the 4 with me on it, and if for whatever reason, Tammy really wants to do it, I'll respect her sort of style on that.
Yeah, that's why we're finalizing it, and
Yeah.
actually it's the
Okay.
chair's
Yeah.
prerogative to
Yes.
establish the subcommittee. So-
Yeah, so I agree with that. Let's say 4.
Okay.
And, you have the names then.
So Vicky, Carol, Lauren, and Qui,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
England.
Thank you.
There's one little catch. I'm gonna be gone 2 weeks in April, 2nd and 3rd week. I'll be back for this, but I won't be there 2 weeks prior to. And I have no control over that. It has to do with memorial for my brother,
Okay.
who passed
I'm gonna
away.
be gone for 2 weeks at the end of February too, so we're just gonna have to work around
Yeah.
our schedules. But
Yeah,
I think,
well,
I think the planning and so forth will be.
Hopefully,
accomplished way
that's what I
before.
was hoping, because when I realized the dates, I said, oops, you know, because it's,
Well, I think with 4 of you.
I think I'll be back 2-3 days before.
it is
confirmed at this point?
You'll be
And
gone.
date.
I could not, and actually I put in a
So,
couple of, I'm
were
sorry.
you one of them on the 4?
I'll be gone from the 13th to the 29th.
Oh. Yeah, so.
Were you, I was not able to confirm the date. I made a few phone calls, and honestly, I did not do a lot since the last meeting. But do you know for sure that it's April 26th? Because I couldn't get the Park and Rec department to tell me that. And there's no mention of it in the new Park and Rec, bulletin that came out, the winter,
Really?
spring one.
Yeah, wow.
That's okay, but I'll ask.
Well, I do have a call into Elizabeth, or to Liz Harrison. And also, Robert. So hopefully I'll hear back about that. I just wasn't even sure they had decided that they were doing it then, but. Anyway, I'll
Okay,
find that
so-
out and I will be
so-
in touch with
Yeah.
the committee.
So
Okay.
we'll leave it as the subcommittee is established.
Okay.
You guys holler
It
if
works.
you need help,
Okay.
right?
Well,
Yep.
we'll manage.
Yeah.
Okay, and then do we need to approve the minutes at this point?
Well,
What-
it's an
what did you-
agenda item, the discussion regarding communication, and cross promotion, and a clarification on the roles for that, at the last, do you mind if I?
No, please, yes.
Yeah, it's just, at the last meeting, there was some discussion about, commissioners just gathering information from other agencies, and the term, liaison was being used, and I just wanted to clarify that the commission doesn't have official liaison roles. That if we were going to establish something like that, that might mean a change to the bylaws, as it stands right now, the city council would basically have to, request that any liaisons, be approved by them, for the commission to other commissions.
Yeah.
Within the city, so I'm not sure how that would work with outside agencies. I just want to clarify that maybe that's not a term that we would be using.
It's not a thing.
Unless we need it,
Yeah.
then we would have to just put it on the agenda, but otherwise it's just commissioners going and gathering information.
No, I appreciate that,
Okay.
because I think that I'm kind of wrapping my head around all of this after we had some conversations, and the reason that we have Juanita is because she knows
Yeah.
the regulations and the way this is supposed to work. And we have to stay within guidelines and stay within, compliance with the Brown Act and all of those things. So we need you.
Yeah.
And I'm not,
So I just wanted to. make
I'm
that
not committed enough to anything that we come up with to say, oh yeah, let's change the bylaws.
clear. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
We don't really wanna, we don't really
Well,
wanna mess
And
with it.
related to that, in the bylaws there, it does allow for the director of the senior center to participate in commission meetings, and I did have a conversation with Holly Prince, who is the manager, and she did agree that she would participate in some meetings, so.
Oh, good. I think that's a plus.
Anytime she can, yeah.
Yes, that would be,
Cause that's the main one. This
Yeah.
library, I check every so often. I mean, I'm there almost every week and I know the main librarian, say, what's coming up, anything new and exciting. I mean, it's just a passing
Well-
comment, being pleasant.
And the library activities are actually in the Outlook.
Oh, yeah, they're always there.
Right.
And ahead of time.
yes, yes.
So we
And part of it is just that,
oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty easy.
Okay, okay, so then the minutes,
Yes.
okay,
So that we,
So
I
you-
see why we were doing.
what?
so we had to clarify some things. before
I
we could
get
approve
it,
the
I'm
minutes.
sorry, I was on board on all that, okay, got it, okay.
Okay, so does anyone have any changes to the minutes or, concerns or anything, or?
Other than
Yeah.
those things,
I
And
move
I
that
have
we
a-
accept the minute that.
Thank you, do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And it's approved. Okay, and then, we really don't have time, I don't think tonight, to talk about, again, about activities for 2025. We've spent quite a bit of time on that last one. But, well, we can raise it again unless there's something that we need to
Yeah,
talk
if you
about that's
don't mind.
imminent for February.
Yeah, just quickly for the current month.
The Outlook article looked good, I had a couple of people, send it to me on the workshop.
I was happy to see that it was as specific as it was. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. And it
Well,
was,
thank you.
and it was not only that, but you got almost a third of a page. What did you do?
Something must have happened.
Somebody just missed their deadline.
They must have been very
Forgot.
impressed with your report.
I know, I don't think so.
I can also just quickly share that.
Did you?
Today, there are 35 people.
Oh,
Wow.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Very
That's
good.
in February, I could be here,
Yes.
but I wish I was.
Right.
So the Outlook is the Pleasant Hills
Oh,
citywide newsletter that comes out every other month, Juanita, is that correct?
And most of the people did read about it in that.
really?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
so
great.
that's something really,
A few from the senior sound and a few from the city's biweekly email, which it will continue to appear in the app until the time.
okay, so our articles need to be focused on our workshops
Yes.
when they're scheduled,
When they're
yeah.
scheduled.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I had a
besides
question.
the great writer.
So what is?
of course.
Yeah. You're good.
No, Juanita did some editing.
We're gonna
So-
put you in the bylaws. You're the writer. You're the.
So I see that we added I'm just sorry.
Just real quickly.
You have,
About the,
you should, you have.
the Outlook article
Yeah.
that's due for, on the dementia Alzheimer workshop. That would be due January 27th, however, Lorna, I realize I'm gonna be on vacation, so perhaps we can talk about a way to either get it in earlier or putting it off. Till I return, we'll have to do it quickly after I get back.
I committed to another thing in April.
Yeah, at the end of March.
Well, it's actually,
You're carrying us.
March or April.
Yeah, it's a late March.
we haven't actually scheduled it yet, correct?
Mhm.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Does,
It's, if you want to take advantage of having it in the
Yeah.
Outlook newsletter, we would just have to have it by the end of the month, so there's.
Perhaps we should move it a little bit later. Because we don't, the Tinkers and Thinkers won't need to be in the newsletter, correct?
Right.
When's it due?
Well, either the 15th or so, next week,
Yeah,
or,
that I can't
or
put together a-
February, I probably could work with February 5th.
And
But it would have to be.
So then the question is, do we have to do the workshop in March?
You don't have to do a workshop, and actually, since you're doing one in February, ideally it would be April, so it's
Yeah.
every other month, but if you want to take advantage,
Of the Outlook?
if you go with April, then you can wait.
Yeah.
To do an article.
It wouldn't be due
That
till
would
March.
be my
No, that's
suggestion.
not true,
No,
yeah,
no,
you
no,
still have to
it
be
is
in the
March,
same
it
one,
was,
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
Oh, it still would have to be in that order?
yeah, still need to have it by
Oh,
the end of this month. So if you think you could put it together by the end of this month.
I don't think I can get commitments, not like the way I got commitments for our workshop
Okay,
in February.
well, it can be,
Well, the next, we don't have another actual, when's the next? We don't have another workshop scheduled.
right, so it would be May, June, so in May, you have a proclamation, you have a presentation here at a meeting. There's potential for participating in the Art, Wine, and Music Festival and the Laugh, Love, Learn program, so there wasn't a workshop set up for then, but you could do something in June.
If we did it in June, when would the article be due?
That would be March 24th.
That's doable.
that's better. Let's do it.
So
Okay.
just not do a workshop in March or April and just continue planning.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we've got Tinkers and Thinkers, and then we've got all these things happening
Yeah.
in May.
Okay.
And you're,
Okay,
All right.
you're also on the schedule for the home match presentation in
in March.
March.
yeah. That's still okay?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, is, do you think that's enough of a discussion on the 2025 events for the moment?
Yeah.
Till next month, okay.
Yeah, so well, I was just mostly thinking about that when it's coming up and if it was gonna work.
Okay, and, anybody have any other commission, anybody, it says commission/liaison reports, but we're not
That's,
saying,
the only appointed liaison we have
is Lorna, yeah,
right now, then the other is just to allow for any commission reports if they had something they were working on.
yeah,
Right now, we don't have commissioners doing that.
okay. Do you have anything from
County degree.
your liaison thing?
I'm thinking the advisory,
The council
No.
on it, yeah.
the
No?
holiday, yeah, because it was holiday parties in December, so you're right. No, I
Yeah.
don't. I was
Okay,
trying to think back on the advisory council on aging. No,
okay,
nothing.
okay. Any other announcements? Discussion? Okay, and it is 6:10, we didn't do that, right?
Oh, we did?
Yeah, that's good. So I'm,
5 minutes to spare.
yeah, we will adjourn until the next meeting on February 13th, 2025. Thank you, everyone.